very good evening to those of you joining us from India, while I wish a very good morning to those joining us from the US. My name is Maniza Khan, and I'm the founder of the Elpis Organization, and I'm a class 11 student of the Heritage School as well. On behalf of the Heritage School and the Elpis Organization, it is my honor to welcome you all to Positivity is My Strength, a webinar with Dr. Jasmine Singh, physician, California. Thank you for taking out your time and joining us today on this auspicious occasion. I'd like to especially thank Dr. Jasmine Singh for agreeing to host the webinar with us and being so helpful and cooperative throughout. We cannot wait to listen to your amazing talk, and once again, welcome everyone. I would first like to introduce our school, the Heritage School. The Heritage School was established in 2001 and is located in Kolkata, India. Our school is a unique endeavor of the Kalyan Bharati Trust to recreate the ancient Gurukul tradition of India. Nestled in the lap of nature, the school provides an ideal atmosphere for learners to acquire and imbibe skills necessary for the physical, mental, social, and intellectual development. Our school is truly an inclusive school which provides a unique array of curriculum for all, which are ICSE, ISC, IGCSE, IBTP, and NIOS. The Heritage School has also started the Cambridge Lower Secondary Curriculum from this year, and we hope to grow further to provide quality education to our students. Place to education this school is considered to be one of the leading international day boarding schools, not just in Kolkata, but in honored at various programs such as the Telegraph Awards for Excellence 2020 with awards such as the Honor Certificate for Excellence in Academics. Also, we have received awards such as the Honor Certificate for Excellence in Academics, Honor Certificate for Social Service, Honor Certificate for Excellence in Extracurricular Activities, and the Certificate of Appreciation for School that cares. As a cherry on top of the cake, we have also won the School of the Year award twice in 8 years. The unique, yes, and this is a glimpse of our school campus. And the unique vision of our school is to prepare dynamic, caring citizens who will meet the challenges of a global society while retaining their traditional values, while a mission is to be a center of excellence in education, which, in keeping with the rich heritage of India, will strive for the simultaneous development of body, mind, and spirit, and endeavor to create compassionate, responsible, and innovative citizens. To develop humanity. I'm proud that our school has achieved its 20 years anniversary this year, having been established in 2021, and we hope to celebrate many such milestones together. Now, I would like to introduce the Elpis Organization run by students of the Heritage School. We aim to raise awareness on various important societal issues among the Gen Z and also empower the Gen Z to keep craving for knowledge of the world by hosting workshops, webinars, and writing articles. We are primarily based in India, and I believe that many of you would be aware of the situation in India. After the first wave of COVID, when it was again battered by the second wave. Over here, it would be hard to find a single person who hasn't lost a friend, family, or acquaintance to the deadly virus. So while we were planning this webinar, we wanted to host something would spread positivity during these uncertain times. And as a guest speaker, we couldn't have found someone better than Dr. Jasmine Singh. I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Jasmine Singh, physician in California. Dr. Singh is an Indian-American physician specializing in psychiatry, fully trained in California, and both certified who is now in private practice. Her broadcasting and outreach work extends across the globe, and a few of her achievements are invitation to CBS and NBC TV for various segments of mental health outreach, various topics over the last 3 years, NPR radio segments on mental health during the pandemic, Bay Area radio segments on mental health during the pandemic, and many more. She has taught internal medicine doctors in psychiatry best practices and has been written about and written for international print magazines. Dr. Singh has also been featured on various podcasts with viewerships up to 60,000 people. Aside from her media work, she also has a special focus on cultural psychiatry, in which she has published research on Indian and Indian American mental health. In her work, Dr. Singh has found there are cultural themes that impact an individual's mental health. Dr. Singh is also graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in theater from the University of California. Her background also involves studying epidemiology, creative writing, and British cultural history at the University of Cambridge. We are so honored to have Dr. Singh with us. The floor is now to you, ma'am. We also request everybody to please switch on the camera and mute themselves while Dr. Singh is speaking. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us.
You are very, very welcome. My goodness, that was such a nice introduction. Thank you for sharing about your school and sharing such nice words about me. That's very nice to hear on a Saturday morning. So thank you for having me. Hopefully we can talk about something today that helps you now get through the current crisis of the pandemic, but also will help you the rest of your life. So like Maniza said, I am a psychiatrist. I first studied medicine to become a physician, and then I specialized in psychiatry. So psychiatry is the study of mental health, the brain, diseases and disorders, and it's a very popular topic in research today. There are many scientists around the world who are looking for new treatments on how to help disorders like anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, which are difficult diseases to manage and affect so many people, okay? So I'd like to give you a little bit about me, just a little bit more than what Maniza said, and then I can tell you a little bit about how to manage your mental health during this difficult time. But I would really like for us to interact and for you to ask me questions, maybe about you or someone you love, and that way we can have a conversation and I'm not just talking at you, and we can have something very specific. Maybe you have something you really want to ask about, and I would be happy to answer that. So you can say that either verbally on the screen, otherwise you can put it in the chat. You can put it in the chat publicly, or you can also put it in the chat privately, and I will not reveal who asked the question if you would like me to keep it private, okay? So think about what you would like to ask me and I would be happy to answer so it specifically helps you or someone you know, all right? So aside from what Maniza said, which was a wonderful introduction, thank you. You really highlighted the big parts of my career so far. So I'm born and raised in California. I grew up here. I trained entirely in California for college, medical school, residency in psychiatry, and now I live in Santa Monica, California, which is a beachside town next to Los Angeles. So I wanted to kind of share how this all happened. You read about that I've been on television, I've been on radio, it's been all over the world, and currently it's all over the world. I'm talking to someone in all of you in India and around the globe, hopefully. So how did this happen, right? What does this mean? How does this happen? And I really want to emphasize the word passion, okay? I did not even know what psychiatry was going into medical school. I had no concept of it. I knew what anxiety and depression was, but it did not have the attention that it has now. These diseases did not have the attention then that it has now. And when I went to my rotation in psychiatry in medical school, you go to surgery rotation, you go to different rotations to experience what it is like to be that kind of doctor. I was very touched by what the patients in psychiatry were going through, and they seemed to be suffering the most. And that kind of did something to me. I felt something after so long in medical school. I felt like, oh my God, we manage diabetes so closely. And that's such a, people can control what they eat, but they don't want to, it's a choice maybe at that time I thought. But these people, they don't know what's real. They don't know what's going on. They can't, their mind isn't even thinking straight. And They have diseases like schizophrenia that makes them unable to work, unable to make any money to support themselves. Then they end up becoming homeless, and then they have other trauma. And so it just really, I felt something. I felt something that I have to help them. And that was pretty much it. I started a nonprofit. I read a lot. I asked a lot of questions, but it became very natural to me because I was truly curious. I truly wanted to know. And I think because of that passion, it led me to, it led to everything. It still leads me today, right? So it led me to interview for many programs. I matched at a great program that was affiliated by UCSF, one of the top in the world. And even all my media work, I never went looking for it. It just kind of came to me because I was trying to look to do a project in my hospital, which didn't work out, but they said, there's this media thing you could do. And so my passion led me to great work. And so I really want to encourage all of you who are considering becoming doctors or whatever you're considering, find something you're passionate about because it truly becomes so fulfilling. And I think you'll naturally become very successful at it. Okay. So anyone have any questions or thoughts about that so far? No. Okay, great. So let's talk a little bit about the current crisis. The pandemic is still going on. India has hit the worst right now. So what can we do? How do we say we're going to stay mentally well during this time? Well, the number one thing that I have been telling everyone who has asked me this question since March 2020 is acceptance of the uncertainty. Okay. This is a very, very strange new experience for all humanity on the planet. Even the scientists didn't know what to do and what was going on with a new virus, right? So we have to accept in our minds and our hearts and our thoughts that this uncertainty, meaning what's going to happen to us, what's going to happen to our family, we have to accept that we don't know. We don't know. Things could go very well and fine, and things could also go badly, but we have to accept that we don't know which way things are going. And that is so hard to do that, but that's the only way. And when you find yourself thinking, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if that happens? You have to think, no, I accept the uncertainty and I accept reality, okay? We like to control everything. Okay, it would be great if we could control every risk factor and everything that would come either our way or our family's way to prevent this virus from happening, but that's not realistic, right? We can only control certain things. We can only control our actions and advise other people to take similar limits to risking their health and their mental health, but we have to accept that this is something really difficult and we can only control what's in our hands, meaning how do we keep ourselves healthy? How do we limit our risk? How do we just stay positive? And how do we think, well, I can't go outside. I don't want to risk myself any more than I already am. What can I do? What can I do while I'm inside? That could be fun, could be interesting. What could I do? I could even get onto Zoom and talk to someone potentially across the world if it works out. But still, it's a new experience that you're using to occupy your time and your mind so that it doesn't go towards the anxiety-prone thoughts, meaning thoughts about the past or worrying about the future. Worrying about the future is so common in general, but especially during the pandemic, it's so hard. But the key is being mindful to be in the moment. And every time you find yourself swaying past your future, just think, no, I'm in this moment, just this moment. I can only be in this moment, okay? That can be very, very helpful for any kind of difficulty you're facing because you want to be clear-headed, right? The problem is ongoing and you want to be able to manage it clearly when you're in a good state of mind. You don't want to manage it when your emotions are running high, you haven't slept well, you're not eating, you're really stressed out. You really want to keep yourself well so that you can manage things as best as you can, okay? So how do you do that? How do you manage things and manage yourself? So you have to think about this term called self-care. And it's really thrown around a lot in America. I don't know if it's thrown around a lot in India, but self-care is taking care of yourself, okay? Eat healthy, okay? Don't get stressed out and eat a lot of junk food. I know you guys are very young, but some people who are adults, they drink a lot of alcohol or they get involved in drugs. Sometimes teenagers can get involved in drugs too as a way to manage their mind and their thoughts and their behaviors and their emotions. But that really isn't going to help you in the long run. In the long run, eating healthy, limiting your caffeine, getting enough sleep. Oh my gosh, this is so important. I know young people love social media, and I know, Maniza, you and I connected on social media, but I want to emphasize social media can be very damaging, okay? Try to limit how much time you're on it. And especially if you're in a lockdown and you're at home, it's hard, right? That's the kind of how you connect to people. But studies have shown that social media can be a problem. So kind of manage that right now and make sure you don't get addicted to scrolling, okay? And yeah, so sleep. Please, please, please get enough sleep, 7 to 8 hours. It's really, really, really important. All mental health, I think, starts with sleep. So that means turning off all your devices a couple hours before bed, doing something relaxing so you can easily fall asleep, and then give yourself enough time, 7 to 8 hours, to get enough sleep, okay? The benefits of it are endless, 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 endless. So that is my little snapshot of how to manage your mental health during this time. You are going to get through it, okay? We are all going to get through it, but we must stay calm so that we can control our minds, thoughts, and behaviors to set us up to manage this comfortably and not in a stressful manner, okay? So those are my few little tips about how to manage this time. I'll have more, but I really would like for you guys to interact and ask me questions so that it's tailored to you, okay? So I did get the email with a few pre-sent questions, but is there anyone who has a really strong question right now that they would like to ask? Anything at all about my career, about, oh, there's 11 in the chat. Okay, let me take a look at that. Okay. Oh, yes. Yep, be mindful, self-care. Sleep is, yep. Some people I know sleep a lot when they are depressed. How does one understand whether it's a normal sleep? Ah, that's a great question from M. Now, the key is to understand when you wake up in the morning, do you feel well rested? If you've slept 12 hours and you don't feel well rested, then that's a problem, okay? For some people, they say, oh, I need 9, 10 hours and then I feel great. And that's not irregular. Okay, that's okay. If you still feel good in the morning, that's fine. But if it's too much and you still don't feel good in the morning, then that's a problem. Maybe you're depressed, okay? So then what do you do, right? Oh my gosh, I might be depressed. Well, you have to think about how you want to manage this. What kind of treatment do you want? Depression is a medical problem, okay? There's so much in the world about there's so much stigma, right? There's so much stigma that this is, for this reason. No, there's no other reason other than it's a medical problem and it deserves treatment, okay? So what's the treatment? There's a lot of options depending on severity, right? Meaning if someone's a little bit depressed, there's different recommendations, or if someone is very depressed, extremely depressed, there's other recommendations. So just to give you a quick little outline, number one, studies show that the best treatment for depression is medication plus talk therapy, okay? Those are the two things. You take the correct medicine for you, plus you have talk therapy, meaning you talk to a therapist. Now, the people who provide talk therapy are either psychiatrists or mostly they're psychologists though. Psychologists have been trained for years in specifically talk therapy. They did not go to medical school. However, some psychiatrists get training in talk therapy and they like doing it as I do. So I do a little bit of talk therapy, and I think it's so helpful. It's so helpful. So that's kind of the highest way to get treatment. The other things to do are to get enough exercise. Exercise, studies show, is so helpful for depression. It's linearly like beneficial, meaning if you do 30 minutes of exercise, that's how much benefit you get. But if you do an hour, the benefit is double. So the more you do, the more beneficial it is. Exercise is just always beneficial, okay? So if someone's mildly depressed, you could start with, okay, I'm going to start exercising. This should help, and maybe I'll get out of this funk. But if someone has been depressed a very long time and they have really strong thoughts of feeling low, feeling down on themselves, or even thoughts about hurting themselves or ending their life, suicide is a big problem globally, especially in your guys' age group, young adolescents. If you have those kind of thoughts, you must consider medication and talk therapy, okay? So that is a long answer to your question about sleeping a lot, but it's a really important question. Sometimes patients say to me, oh, I sleep fine, but then it's really not fine. So yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Jasmine, for, I think now I understand how to kind of differentiate between the two kinds of sleep. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Happy to help. Who else has a question?
Dr. Singh, I have raised my hand, so may I?
Sure, yeah, hi.
This is one thing that many of my students and my people who I attend to, they ask me, they talk about it, as in, we say 7 to 8 hours of sleep is good, enough, yes. So what they say is, so what's the harm in me going to sleep at 2 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock at night, and then wake up later? They'll count it by the fingers, 7, 8 hours done. So is that a right approach, doctor?
So you are a teacher then at Heritage School?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you for joining me today. It's great to meet you.
We have quite a lot of us sitting here. We have Gunjan Ghosh here, and Munmun Bey ma'am is the CAS coordinator. And right now, Manisha Rudra ma'am asked you the question, who's also a teacher. We have our coordinator.
Oh, wow.
Kavita ma'am, I can see over here. We also have Bornali ma'am. We are, and of course, Shobhitra sir. We are quite a lot of us are sitting here with you. We are very interested, ma'am.
Oh, that's wonderful. So how amazing one of your students has organized this. Congratulations to you. I hope it didn't come as a surprise or something, but it's wonderful that, that this has happened. Yeah. So thank you for all of the teachers and administration from Heritage for joining. Yes. So your question's great, right? Okay, fine, 7, 8 hours, but I'm going to go to sleep at 2 a.m. after I've scrolled on the internet for a couple hours. You know, then I'll get my 7, 8 hours. Great. So this is so common in every age group, okay, and all over the world, right? So it's not good. Short answer, it's not good. Why? Why is this not good? So the brain likes habit. Okay, the brain loves to predict what's coming. It likes patterns, it likes habit, it likes the same thing over and over, okay? Maybe, for example, you know, you see, you know, a type of Indian dessert, okay? And you got sick from it in the past, okay? Let's say, for example, and then you see this Indian dessert and immediately you have an aversion. You don't want to eat it. That's because your brain remembers, this made me sick. I don't want it. Okay. So this kind of prediction of the future is something the brain does, and it likes habit. So to help the brain and to help the brain sleep and to help the brain get what it needs, meaning the rest it needs, the stimulation it needs, okay? It likes to have the pattern. And so the first thing I ask patients when they tell me I can't sleep, well, what time do you go to sleep? Oh, sometimes 11, sometimes 1. And And I encourage them to find one bedtime. Okay, you find one bedtime, ideally not 2 a.m., earlier than that, and you stick to it because that tells the brain, okay, it's time to sleep now. And so you're helping your own brain biology and chemistry help you not have problems like insomnia. Okay, so you pick a time, you stick to it, brains like patterns, it's going to help you get more effective sleep, fall asleep easier, and it's just going to put you on the right path to having the rest that you need. So yeah, it's really funny how people they like to get the 7 hours, but it's starting way later in the night. But that's not healthy. That's not healthy at all.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Dr. Jasmine. So glad to hear you. So I have a question. Like everyone knows, like one should stay in present, don't think about past or future. Or everyone knows like social media is not good. But can you share some strategy how to like get away from social media and to stay positive and to think about the present only?
Strategies. Okay. So those are a couple different questions. So number one, how do you stay off social media? You're not going to want to. Okay. The way social media is designed, it's a brain chemistry hijack that it does. Okay. You keep wanting to see what other people do and you want to put up something nice so that they like it. And then you feel good, like, oh, someone liked my picture. Great. Awesome. I'm great. It's so crazy. Like it's so brilliantly designed to hijack our brain chemistry. Okay. But we are human beings. We have power, and you can just take your phone and turn it off and put it away from you. Okay. You're not going to want to do that. You're going to want it. So when you get that like and that good feeling that you get, it's from a neurotransmitter brain called dopamine. Okay. Dopamine is also implicated in addiction. Okay. It's addiction. It's involved in drug use, in addiction, in food addiction, in technology addiction, it's alcohol addiction. I mean, it's involved in all sorts of addiction. So yeah, it's very normal nowadays to be addicted to social media, but you are a living, breathing human being with a lot of power and smarts, and you can turn it off and tell yourself, I'm going to give myself a break. Okay. And I'm going to move away from my phone right now because this is getting unhealthy. So how do you do that? Well, limit it by step. If you're using it 2 hours a day, make your goal, maybe 1.5 hours a day. And then in 2 weeks, make it 1 hour a day. Gradually reduce it so that it's not too much of a shock for you. People, when they get off social media, meaning they try to stop using it, they get depressed because they miss that dopamine. Okay, so this is serious. This is not just a joke. I like to make things kind of light because that's my personality, but this is not a joke, and it's hard. It's hard. So use your power as a human. You can do it. Limit your social media. Walk away. Just move away from your phone. And then the desire will come back. You might feel a little annoyed or irritable. Reach your threshold where, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. And then let yourself maybe have a little bit, but not another hour, maybe just 5 minutes. Okay. So find these little strategies to just limit it over time. You're not just going to snap your fingers one day and it's going to go away. Okay. So that is what I recommend for your social media. Take breaks, limit your time. If you have an iPhone, it can tell you how much time you're spending on it, which sometimes gets very scary when they send you that alert. So yeah, it's important, but gradual. Okay. Now your other question, it was about staying in the moment, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what the term mindfulness is all about. Can everyone nod their head if they've heard this term before? If you have, yeah, everyone's heard mindfulness. Okay. So what does that mean, right? What is mindfulness, right? What is that? Why is everyone making a big deal about it? And why do we care, right? To me, mindfulness is the start of all mental health treatment. Okay, it's step one. It's not the result of everything. It's not everything, but it's the start. Okay, so what does it mean? Mindfulness means what is affecting me? What are my thoughts right now? Why am I behaving this way? It's just a question of why, right? So if you're feeling anxious about the future, or you're worried about an exam that's coming up, that could be a very strong contributing factor. You might feel anxious, and then you think, yes, I have an exam coming up. It's really important, especially if you're going towards medicine. There are exams that literally determine the rest of your life, okay? So then you think, okay, I have an exam coming. I am anxious about it. That is a normal response, okay? This is nothing shocking about it. So what can I do about it? How can I keep myself in the moment and calm so that I can prepare and relax and rest enough to be the best that I can be on exam day, okay? So that is, again, the strategies I mentioned, focusing on relaxing, resting, sleep, avoiding substance use. Those are the things I would recommend. But if you're really struggling to do this, there's a skill. It's from one of the therapies that I've trained in, which is called DBT. You might have heard of it, but it'd be cool to Google it. It's called dialectical behavioral therapy. And the point is that you literally force yourself to observe what's around you, name it, meaning actually say it, name it, and then interact with it. So what does that mean? So I'm here in my home office. And so if I'm not feeling very mindful, if I need to kind of get into that mindfulness moment, I'm really worried about this talk I'm doing for people in India. I don't know if they're going to understand me. Let's say that's an example, right? So I can think, okay, I have to become mindful. So you look around you, literally look around you, and you say, you observe your surroundings, and then you think, what is around me? Name it. So I look, laptop, and then I see pen, and then I see another pen, and then I see phone. And you literally go around and name the things, and you keep doing that for some time. And then you even interact with it or observe it, explain it. This is a blue and black pen. It feels like this. You kind of really, in a detailed manner, explore your current surroundings to literally bring you in the moment, okay? Now, this is going to be really hard when you start it, but it's a habit, right? Brain likes habit. So as you do it, you will become more and more mindful, okay? So that's kind of the 2-minute version of a really big therapy, but hopefully it's a place for you to start, and it'll get you to where you need to go. Yeah, this is kind of a grounding technique. That's right. So grounding is another term to help become more mindful, get out of an anxious place. And yeah, so great, Elena, thank you. So I missed some question. What is the biological reason behind depression? Oh, Rishabh, you asked a brilliant question. What is the biological reason? So number one, people don't generally know that there is biology involved. Goodness, it's a very complex answer, but to keep it short and simple for your purposes, there are neurotransmitters. You guys are in high school, so there's neurotransmitters in the brain that are involved in anxiety and depression, okay? Look up the word serotonin, okay? S-E-R-O, I'll type it. So that's kind of one of the big ones that medicine is looking at right now that is involved with anxiety and depression. A lot of the medicines aim to increase the amount of serotonin that's available to the brain to help depression, okay? So that's one. That's kind of the short answer. And I think that's enough for you guys. Think about serotonin. Is it wrong to be highly optimistic and focus on the good things? Thank you for that question, Anshita. I pause because you can think of this in two ways. One, someone could say, you know, it's great to be positive, even if things are really difficult. It's important to look at the bright side of things, feel optimistic, and have hope. Hope is really important, okay? Hope is extremely central to feeling that something could resolve or things could get better. Hope is kind of the central thing that you want to have. Now, the flip side of that, meaning the other side of the argument, which is actually focused on a lot nowadays. If you read, there's articles in the New Yorker, which is a very prominent magazine in the US, that sometimes positivity becomes so strong that it's not informed by reality. That sometimes people put on this varnish of positivity that isn't related to truly how things could be. And it's not realistic, it's not real, and it's not helpful, okay? So that's also a very reasonable argument that if you think if things are going very bad, but you refuse to accept what's happening and you just mask it, that like everything's gonna be great, everything's gonna be fine, but things have shown that they are not fine, meaning, you know, I don't want to think of any bad scenarios, okay? But let's say there's something very serious and someone's not doing well, and a doctor tells the family that this is not going well and this person may not survive. That's very serious, right? It's very serious that a physician has told you that this is not going well. Physicians are very honest, most of them. All, you know, I think the ones I've interacted with are all pretty great. And we spend our lives studying. So yeah, that's really serious, right? But if someone says, oh no, everything's going to be fine. My family member is going to walk out of here. This problem is not a big deal. I don't buy this. I am highly optimistic and everything's going to be fine. So that's not realistic, right? So there has to be an element of realism and you have to be in touch with reality, okay? And I think that makes it even stronger, okay? In the same scenario, if someone has told someone about this, if a doctor has said your family member's not well, I think true optimism and true strength is, you know what, this is horrible news and I'm very hurt by it, but I am going to look forward and feel optimistic that I'm going to get through this. I'm going to help my family get through this and we're going to be fine. It's going to take some time. It's going to hurt a lot, but I'm optimistic that I'll still be able to live a full life, okay? So in my opinion, true optimism has to be in touch with reality. But if that's the case, be as optimistic as you want, all right? Doesn't mean don't dream. It doesn't mean don't think of big things. Don't, limit yourself, but also be realistic too. Great question. 2 thumbs up to that. Okay. So I have a private question. Are there any alternatives to the traditional treatment for depression? So there are new studies coming up about using different things. But what is available to us now, meaning commonly used, well-studied treatments, are medication, therapy, and exercise. In my opinion, those are the 3 most important: medication, therapy, and exercise. Okay? All right, who else has a question? Great questions. Thank you guys for these. They're awesome.
Hello, ma'am. I have a question.
Hi. Yes.
Hi, ma'am. Yes, I'm Gunjan from the Heritage School. I'm one of the school counselors, ma'am. I have a question in mind that nowadays we are at home most of the time, and students have a lot of negative thoughts. They have negative emotions. They have anxiety. They are worrying about the future. They are very restless and irritated at the same time. So they feel very much bored at home and they feel a monotony most of the time. So how do they cope up with these negative emotions which are tormenting them and it's not allowing them to focus on their work? So how they cope up with these negative thoughts and emotions?
So again, right, it's so it's so expected that this would be the case, right? And this is not just the issue with students in India, but also in America. It's a very bad situation for the youngsters. So goodness, there's so many things, right? Number one, do they need treatment? That's the first question. Do they need to see a psychiatrist? Do they need to see a psychologist? Determine the level of severity, right? Things, they may not even tell you how bad it actually is, since you're not there. So you have to think about that. You're the counselor, right? So, you're kind of the first line who might be able to suggest this. So whenever you think you're in doubt, okay, whenever you feel uneasy about it, just recommend that they get treatment, okay? And find someone who's good, who wants to work with the school, and just be very, have a low threshold to suggest that right now, okay? Especially right now. Maybe I wouldn't say this 2 years ago, but right now I would be very easy to suggest that, okay? Secondly, let's say someone's doing okay, but they are bored and they want some inspiration. So that's where you can get kind of creative, right? How involved does the school want to be? How involved do the students want to be? Do you want to make a school-wide group therapy? Do you want to create something a list of potential interests and hobbies, or some kind of creative class you can come up with for after hours that maybe isn't graded and is just for fun and is something just for their own interest? I don't know how much the school wants to be involved. I don't think schools here have done something like that, but I think it would be very nice if something was made for after hours, or for some of my patients who aren't young children, but they are adults who are struggling with boredom and feeling uninspired. What I've done is I've found this list of hobbies. It's very, very simple. Okay. This list of hobbies, which is, there must be 1,000 options on there, but I've shown it to them. I said, just pick something and try it out. When will you have time like this to ever try something totally random, right? Even myself, I have found ways to think, what interests do I have? What can I do indoors? So I've explored my current hobbies in ways that I didn't think I would at this age. Let's see, so I've taken a writing class. I used to write a lot before I became a doctor. I haven't done so much since my medical training, and that's been really enjoyable to me. And it's such a good distraction. It's a good distraction from the current horrible situation that we're going through, right? So you want to find something that's engaging and that can distract you and hopefully make you feel a little excited and interested to do. And if the school wants to get involved with that, I think that would be a great idea.
Dr. Singh, at the Heritage School, we call ourselves a school with a difference, and we do it all. We've had online sports, we've had online concert, nothing could stop us. And our students regularly have their activity classes where they dance, they have vocal music, they have everything. You say it, they have it, even sports.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Our school is very, very involved. We are very proud of it.
Having counseling sessions and one-to-one individual counseling sessions and group sessions also.
Wow.
We as counselors, we are taking sessions for students because they are really going through a hard time in this pandemic, and helping them get rid of ill emotions. We are trying our level best to give them all sorts of counseling.
So then in my head, that means that it's all there, right? It's all there, and maybe to get students even more engaged. Someone who has always done sports, hey, go do the art thing. Maybe you'll find something new, or encourage them to try something different. So I think since you already have mentioned how much you already are doing, I think an engagement, focusing on engaging the student even more than they already are. That would be my next suggestion. But that's great. I think that's a very forward-thinking philosophy to even offer group therapy through a school. I've suggested that to schools here. It's my dream. Hopefully it'll come true one day in a school I'm involved with. But yeah, great. Good for you guys. So we have a lot of messages here. Okay. Let's see. How to determine if an illness is causing depression or is causing an illness. You see a psychiatrist who will ask you many, many questions and figure it out for you, okay? You are not trained to figure that out, all right? Go to a psychiatrist, talk to them, they'll figure it out for you. Okay, how to be confident on yourself, how to love yourself and spread that love with everyone. Ooh, that's such a good question. So I would like to first turn that question and say, why aren't you loving yourself? Who has, or what has happened where your brain has developed a pattern to not love yourself? What is the kind of switch there? Okay, how has your life, or what has happened to where you think, I am not loving myself, or there's something I hate about myself? So that's something I would ask you to think about and then manage that accordingly, okay? This is not something where I can give you one small answer and then you have the whole solution to this issue, right? This is something where I think some reading on some books as well as some therapy, talk therapy can be extremely helpful, as well as your own introspection on why would I, you have only this one home of yourself, right? Of your whole life. Why aren't you loving it? Why aren't you acting in a way where you care for yourself? So that would be the first step to that question. Okay. Yep. Indoor games. It's a great idea. Let's see. Mindfulness room. That's great. Awesome. Yeah. How can we possibly deal with extreme anxiety in times like this? Okay, so let's say things are getting really strong. You're trying to be mindful. It's not working. So I suggest a breathing exercise to all my patients. And this is something that you can do even if you are anxious in the moment, or you want to just continue to maintain and keep the anxiety away. So it's very simple, okay? 5 to 6 seconds. That's what you want to know. Inhale for 5 to 6 seconds and then exhale for 5 to 6 seconds. And there's different exercises with different timings, and there's all sorts of different, you can hold your breath, but I like this one because it's so simple. You can do it anywhere. You don't have to worry about feeling uncomfortable with holding your breath maybe when you're taking a test. It's really easy to just say 5 to 6 seconds and then 5 to 6 seconds for an exhale. And that's important too, okay? So I would say try that. And then I would still suggest when you're in a little more comfortable position, thinking, what's making me not mindful? Okay, the pandemic, of course. How can I manage it? What can I do right now? I can't go out and save all the patients. I can't keep myself in a bubble. I can't keep my family in a bubble. So I have to accept that this is a difficult situation, but I'm hopeful that my family are going to get through it. And I'm taking all these steps to stay safe, and that's all I can do. And I accept that's all I can do. Okay? Yeah. Great question. Yes, it can be done during a panic attack, correct? So breathing is one of the number one things to help a panic attack go away. 5 to 6 seconds in and 5 to 6 seconds out, okay? Also, what I mentioned before, kind of observing and naming things, also very good for a panic attack, okay? I would also, you're welcome. If things get very bad and they continue to be bad, think about trying some medicine. There are medicines for panic attacks that are not addictive, okay? Not addictive. Go to a good psychiatrist and that can help you, okay? I see high school, college students all the time, and they really benefit from medicine. You don't need to be uncomfortable. There's a lot of stigma around medicine as well, but my goodness, how can anyone blame you for not for having anxiety and panic attacks right now. The world is really suffering. So consider looking at some treatment. Maybe the school could find someone who is reputable and then offer that name to the students to go to. I think that, medicine is nothing to be afraid of. Medicine saves lives all the time, okay? The pandemic, if it's nothing, it is a proof that medicine is so helpful, right? But when there's a new disease, then we have to find a new medicine, right? So just think about that. Think about treatment, okay? No need to suffer. Okay. How do you overcome your insecurities even though you do love yourself? Over time and continuing to love yourself even harder and realizing you're a human and you're going to have insecurities at every juncture of life. You're going to be challenged. You're going to have doubts. You're going to feel like, oh my gosh, can I even do this? But you just have to love yourself even harder. Again, in talk therapy, a lot of that can be worked out. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Everyone who's thanking me, you're welcome. Are panic attacks and anxiety attacks different? So this is kind of splitting hairs, but panic is a little bit different. It's a kind of a high level anxiety, in my opinion. You feel that something bad is going to happen. There's something danger. There's something wrong. It's a little different than just anxiety, which can be much milder. You're worrying, you have some muscle tension, but panic attacks, to me, we want to treat to prevent them. Mild anxiety is okay. It's not something that's an emergency, but a panic attack, it can be a problem. So yeah, that's how they're different. Okay. Breathing exercises work for the first episode. What if it kicks it again? Do it again and keep doing the breathing exercise. There's no side effects, okay? This is breathing in a specific way to help calm you down. But if panic and anxiety becomes a problem, seek treatment. Seek treatment, get some medicine, get some talk therapy. Nothing to be afraid of. How to overcome grief or a loss during the pandemic. Oh my goodness, that is so, so hard. But I think all of us have been grieving in some sort of way, whether it's a person or a loved one that we've lost, or, all of us have been grieving the loss of our normal life, the loss of being around family, the loss of celebration, the loss of normalcy. There's a lot to say there, but the first thing which people struggle with the most is accepting how they feel and letting themselves feel bad. You've got to feel bad about it. Something bad has happened. Let yourself feel bad, okay? People just want to jump out of it so quickly. Like, no, everything's going to be fine. That's not realistic, right? Everything's not fine. There's been a loss. So accepting your low feelings and processing it and thinking, how am I going to move forward? Even though this is horrible and I feel a loss, how am I going to move forward? That's kind of a very, very small, brief way to deal with grief. But I think definitely during a loss, some talk therapy is super, super important. And go to someone who you feel comfortable with, who you want to share your life with, who you think you connect with and is helpful, okay? So definitely some talk therapy. Thank you for attending. Appreciate it. Okay. What if you get into extreme depression and get addicted to dopamine tablets because they make you feel better? You go to a psychiatrist who helps you manage your addiction. There's nothing I can say to tell you otherwise. Okay. But I'm concerned what these dopamine tablets are. Dopamine is often used as medication, right? It's managed in medication. But yeah, I think, go to a psychiatrist. We're trained in this, all right? If it becomes to that level, all right? Children who are uncertain about their examinations, their admission to universities, their future seems bleak, dealing with parents' expectations. As teachers, how do we help? I love this question. This is the best because we manage this in America all the time, okay? And I have Indian heritage. I know what parental pressure is, okay? So this is something that has to change culturally, okay? This is something that, your school is very forward thinking. I'm sure already you've encountered this problem and you've thought about how to manage this. Parents need to think about the student and their child, right? They have to think about what's best for them. And not everyone's going to become a doctor, okay? There is this, I am a physician. I understand the intense cultural desire for this job, or engineers or whatever, but we need artists. I mean, look at us. We're trying to say, like, how are we going to manage ourselves? And we're turning to art. We're turning to movies, music, poetry, writing. We need those people in society, okay? And, I think that financially people have these thoughts, but, I think as the teacher, you must support the student, okay? You must support the student. You must support the student's mental health. And, that's hard, but I would recommend that strategy to have the parents talk about what their expectations are, have the student talk about what their hopes and dreams are, and then hopefully a conversation develops that there could be some kind of consensus or a plan that honors both parties. I think that would be the way to go. But it's hard, right? Everyone has expectations for themselves, expectations for their loved ones. It's a hard question. There's no easy answer, but the two parties have to talk. They have to talk and understand each other. That's the first step, okay? How do we manage increased screen time? I mentioned it. You just have to force yourself to put it away, distract yourself, manage that. Yeah. How can we make someone feel positive when one is infected with the virus? Many people panic as soon as they get diagnosed with COVID, which sometimes worsens their health. Okay, so this goes back into the same thing, the feeling hopeful, but still realistic. Okay, this goes back into that I spent a lot of time on earlier, maybe too much, but this is, again, I accept that this has happened, but I'm hopeful it's going to change. Yes, this is not ideal. This is horrible. This is scary, but all I can do is help myself heal, hydrate, drink enough water, eat enough food, and distract myself and let this pass, because it will pass. And I'm going to keep close tabs with my doctor and my family and tell anyone if things change. For the better, for the worse. But I think, Trina, your question is really great. And I think you can have them realize, yes, this is not ideal, this is horrible, but that being said, we can still do our best to feel happy and have something to distract ourselves. And then hopefully it'll move forward and be done in 14 days or whatever the current recommendation is, right? So yeah, I would go back to the acceptance and kind of focusing on what we can do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. What should we do if we are confused with our gender and one of our parents do not accept these changes in our lives? Again, huge right now, all over the world, the kind of gender struggles that people are having. Talk therapy. Okay, there's not one nice short answer I can give you, but to not ignore your feelings, okay, talk to a therapist that you trust and see what happens and think, so you can think about what you want to do and how you want to move forward, okay? This is something that you will need the help of a therapist, all right? What are your tips for high school students to pursue medicine? Oh my goodness. I know we're over time, but let's see. I think the first thing I mentioned about being passionate, I think that's essential, right? If you are doing it for reasons that are not your own, it's not going to go well. I mean, there's so much stigma against mental health, and I went into it, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when it wasn't as widely talked about, but I felt something, right? I felt that this is what I need to do. I need to spend my time and energy dealing with this. And I think that, you know, those who did know about mental health saw it as fine, but maybe some people didn't and thought it was an odd choice. But I felt passionate. I felt strongly about it. And I naturally put so much work in that I was given all these other opportunities of television that was when I was a resident. Okay. That's when I was still training and I was being asked to come on to these shows and podcasts and radio broadcasts because, I was just passionate and I had thought about it and I really wanted to help people. And so then I spent a lot of time, and that becomes very easy when you're passionate. So yeah, I think if you're doing the right thing, if you're in the right field, the world will prove it to you that you're in the right field because you will very easily and naturally and happily do well, okay? So passion is really, really important. Let's see. You're welcome. You're welcome. Hi. Ma'am, can self-talk be helpful in curing depression? I think it can, but self-talk isn't as powerful as talking to someone else. And I would then reply with a question, why aren't you talking to someone else? Okay. Is there not someone in your life that you can trust to talk about your depression with? And if there isn't, find a therapist, find a psychiatrist, talk to a counselor that you like. Okay, at your school, I'm sure they would be happy to speak with you. Self-talk is good, but it's not as good as a conversation, a real conversation with two people involved. Okay, so please think about that. Please, please, please. Okay, any last minute questions? This has been so fun. It's really great because you guys are across the world with the same concerns, same problems, same curiosities that people in California, and I think other places I've trained, Arizona, New York, same places with the same questions. And that just shows how close we are as humans. We all have the same desires, the same hopes and dreams, and the same scaries, and the same fears, and the same problems. So this is so great. Thank you for everyone to join. Thank you for asking me such great questions.